What it says is, well, regarding this, not only just TSA, but also other things that recently has happened. For instance, they're going too far with the FDA. They're going to control you. You can't even grow tomatoes in your backyard anymore, you know, according to this piece of legislation. So it's a decremental kind of gradual progress to the real tyranny. We are, it's very dangerous right now, our situation, because we are this close to the full blooded tyranny such as German Nazi. We are not that far from it. And like Alex Jones said, many countries that are run by dictatorship also are not like that, such as China. I don't know, like other dictatorship countries, North Korea, I don't think they have such laws over there. So it's the clip that Sam is going to roll for you is about that. This is Ron Paul suggesting that I believe it's called Dignity Act, and he says enough is enough. Let's watch that together.
Gentleman's recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise this evening to announce that I introduced some legislation today dealing with the calamity that we have found at our airports with TSA. Something has to be done. Everybody's fed up. The people are fed up. The pilots are fed up. I'm fed up. You know, I've come to this floor many times over the past many years and complained about the terrible foreign policy we've had, the terrible monetary policy we had, the excessive spending and the debt, and also the tax policy. But what we're doing and what we're accepting and putting up with at this airport is so symbolic of us just not standing up and saying enough is enough. I know the American people are starting to wake up, but our government, those in charge, Congress as well as the executive branch, are doing nothing. Yes, they're talking about maybe backing off and allowing the pilots go through. But can you think how silly the whole thing is? The pilot has a gun in the cockpit, and he's managing this aircraft, which is a missile, and we make him go through this groping X-ray exercise, having people feel in their underwear. It's absurd. And it's time we wake up. The bill I've introduced will take care of this. But we have to realize that the real problem is that the American people have been too submissive. We have been too submissive. It's been going on for a long time. And this was to be expected, even from the beginning of the TSA. And it's deeply flawed. Private property should be protected by private individuals, not bureaucrats. But the bill that I've introduced will take care of it. It's very simple. It's one paragraph long. It removes the immunity from anybody in the federal government that does anything that you or I can't do. If you can't grope another person, and if you can't x-ray people and endanger them with possible x-ray, you can't take nude photographs of individuals, why do we allow the government to do it? We would go to jail if an individual, he'd be immediately arrested if an individual citizen went up and did these things, and yet we just sit there and calmly say, oh, they're making us safe. And besides, the argument from the executive branch is that when you buy a ticket, you have sacrificed your rights, and it's the duty of the government to make us safe. That isn't the case. You never have to sacrifice your rights. The duty of the government is to protect our rights, not to use them and do what they have been doing to us. The pilots, hopefully, you know, will be exempted from this. But another suggestion I have that might help us, let's make sure that every member of Congress goes through this. Get the x-ray, take a look, and make them look at the pictures, and then go through one of those groping pat-downs. And then I think there'd be a difference. Have everybody in the executive branch, anybody a cabinet member, make them go through it and look at it. Maybe they would pay more attention. But this doesn't work. This is not what makes us safer. This is preposterous to think that the TSA has made us safer. You know, when you think about it, if you look at what's happened over the past 10 years, during this last decade, we lost 3,000 on a terrible, terrible day for America. But since that time, in this last decade, we have also lost 6,000 of our military personnel going over there and trying to rectify this problem. We have lost 400,000 people on our government-run highways. We have lost 150,000 individuals from homicides. So I think there's reason to be concerned, reason to deal with this problem. We're not dealing with it the right way. We're doing the wrong thing. And groping people at the airport doesn't solve our problems. What has solved our problems basically has been that they put a good lock on the door and they put a gun inside the cockpit. That's been the greatest boon to our safety. Safety should be the responsibility of the individual and the private property owner. But right now, we assume the government's always going to take care of us, and we are supposed to sacrifice our liberties. I say that is wrong. We are not safer. And we also know there are individuals who are making money off this. Michael Chertoff. I mean, here's a guy that was the head of the TSA selling the equipment. And the equipment's questionable. We don't even know if it works, and it may well be dangerous to our health. You know, the way I see this, if this doesn't change, I see what has happened to the American people is we have accepted the notion that we should be treated like cattle. Make us safe, make us secure, put us in the barbed wire, feed us, fatten us up, and then they'll eat us. And we're a bunch of cattle, and we have to wake up and say, we've had it. I think this whole idea of an opt-out day is just great. We ought to opt out and make the point, get somebody to watch it, take a camera. It's time for the American people to stand up, shrug off the shackles of our government at TSA, at the airports.
Welcome back. You are watching The Echo, episode number 14. It is about TSA. As the clip that you just watched was Dr. Paul in the Congress suggesting this new bill. As what you saw was very interesting. One thing I keep forgetting to mention is about Chertoff. It always happens that we have conflict of interest. We had it with Dick Cheney. We have it with this guy Chertoff. It happens over and over that the corporation becomes a part of government, and government becomes a part of corporation. Corporation is government, government is corporation. You don't even know, you can't even differentiate these two entities anymore. Sometimes most of the time, your government is corporation, such as IRS, such as the Federal Reserve, which is a corporation, private corporation.
Look at all your cities. When you're driving down the highway, it'll say, you know, such and such corporate limit.
Yes.
All the cities are corporatized.
Yes, yes, exactly. Thank you so much. Cities also are corporatized, and you know, the army, our army is a corporation. You know, so. You can see, as you can see, because of that, we have so many of this conflict of interest. And what happens actually, you don't know if this guy is working for the sake of American people or for the taxpayers, or is working for the interest of his corporation. That is the problem. It's just like there is no money in cure. So what happens actually, these pharmaceuticals and our health system, instead of curing and treating our people, is causing more problem. Why? Because once, let's say, almost everybody is cured and we use the measures such as prevention, then what pharmaceuticals want to sell or want to make? Nothing, absolutely nothing. So they'd
put themselves out of business if they
exactly
were doing things.
Exactly. So here you go one more time. You have the conflict of interest. So you would see that this and that pharmaceutical come and buy the whole FDA and make us believe that actual fluoride is good in the water, and such and such is good for you. And you know, the funny thing is that once every 5 years, the same company that said that, you know, is getting sued. You know, the company changes, the pharmaceutical changes its name. They produce different thing with different names under different codes.
Well,
So
taking this back to the TSA and these
TSA.
other security-related companies, if they actually provided good security, they'd be putting themselves out of business. It's because of these so-called terrorist attacks,
exactly.
which is why we need them, which is really, you can see the motivation for them to actually cause terrorist attacks.
Yes, yes. It's very obvious. I mean, first of all, most of these terrorist companies, I don't call them terrorist groups, are made by entities like CIA or this and that. And they admit that. They have confessed that to you. That yes, like for instance, Talibans were working for us, Mujahideen were working for us in the war that we had with Soviet Union, with Soviets. So, number one. Number two, if there is any grassroots terrorist group, which are very rare in Middle East, there is a reason. If you see a country like USA get involved in something that's not its business, yes, of course, then you have problem later on, because the problem, what the U.S. government so far has been doing is, trying to export democracy by force. First of all, define democracy. And if it is by force, it's not democracy at all. Second of all, it's not my business to be worried about internal affair of a country. Because if a country is not that advanced to, let's say, elect a president or prime minister or whatever government, then they have to go through that process by themselves. If they feel they need such thing, they would do that. It's not my business to interfere. It's just like your neighbor is fighting next door and you go and interfere with it. You know, it's a domestic affair. I mean, it's between husband and wife. They know what they're doing. And most of the time, when we go there and try to basically mediate, that we look like a jackass. So it's the same thing. So
we're living in an Orwellian world. Everything is the opposite of what it's supposed to mean.
Yes.
Spreading of democracy.
Yes.
You know, it's
not.
It's a spreading of enslavement.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And when we say, for instance, we nuke another country because of peace, or how do you, it's so oxymoron, how do you want to define that? So peace is actually a gradual process through dialogue. You can't reach to peace through basically